Good.
You see it pop on your screen, Abigail?
Meeting recording has started. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the full Pedestrian Advisory Committee meeting of June 2nd, 2021. And just to notice, this meeting may involve the remote participation by members, either by telephone or other electronic means, due to the local public health emergency pursuant to the provisions of Minnesota Statute Section 13D-021. Here we are, so I guess we'll do the roll call.
Okay. Aaron? Abigail?
Here.
Barbara? Are you there, Barbara? You're on mute.
I am here.
Okay. Christopher Hoffer?
He's on mute.
Christopher?
No, okay. Here, did somebody switch me into mute? I'm here, but it keeps going to mute.
All right. Donna, are you here?
Yep.
James Welsh? Julia? Oh, can somebody send Julia the number she?
I got it.
Okay,
Yep, I'm on
great. Matthew Steinrich?
I'm here.
Neil?
Here.
Paul St. Martin?
Here.
I like your name, that's why I say the whole thing all the time. Peter?
Yeah, here.
Sarah Goodell? Tamir? Carrie? Jordan? Emma?
Here.
Jordan, are you here?
Yes, I'm here.
Awesome. Emma?
Yes, hello.
Hello. Eric Bauer? Tom Tao?
Hi, I'm here.
Heidi? Julie?
I'm here.
Chensmo? Ratana? Sonia? Suzanne?
I'm here.
Ooh, Sonia, are you here?
I am here. Sorry about that.
That's great. Suzanne?
Here.
Suzanne. Millicent Flowers, I'm here. Chris Kartheiser?
I'm here.
Here,
Yes, here.
awesome. 8 people attending.
Great, thank you.
Mhm.
Next up would be the adoption of this agenda for the meeting, as well as the acceptance of the minutes from the last meeting, May 5th. So I
I
guess
think Julia has entered the building for attendance purposes. Julia.
Okay,
great.
get her down. I'll read the roll again, Abigail, for the acceptance of agenda.
Yes, because I assume Neil will second them.
I will.
Thanks.
Okay.
We have some agenda discussion, I think. I'm not sure where it fits, but we have a potential resolution to add it. We're thinking at the P&P in regards to the pedestrian automatic recall being taken away across the city. So we want to address it. For agenda purposes, where do we try and fit that
I think we can put it in at the end.
procedurally?
Chair Abigail.
I think I'm comfortable after we finish all the other programs and policy stuff, then we'll go into that. Does that work for you?
Okay, so do we have to? Okay, so but for agenda purposes, we're cool. Okay, that's all. That was the concern.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. So we'll remember to include that. Great. So now I think, Millicent, you can.
Okay, vote on accepting the agenda.
Mhm.
Aaron?
Hey,
You I accept the agenda.
Aye.
Did you call my name? Aye.
Just now, hi.
Yeah.
Barbara?
Aye.
Christopher?
Yes.
Anna?
Aye.
Julia?
Aye.
Matthew Steinrich?
Aye.
Neil?
all right.
Paul St. Martin?
Aye.
Peter?
Aye.
Jordan?
Aye.
Oh, just PAC members,
Oh,
actually.
yep, you're right.
Different than
Sorry
PAC.
about that. Get going on the list and keep going.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, that's it. 10 said yes. Accept the agenda.
That's right.
Great. So that's everybody. Then next up is actually the Infrastructure and Engineering Subcommittee report. So I'll let Aaron and Barb.
Whoa, wait a minute. We didn't okay the May agenda or the May minutes.
Oh, yes.
The
So
minutes.
what we just voted on was to actually for approval of this agenda and the acceptance of the minutes for May. So we all
Oh,
voted.
okay.
Yeah, we rolled those together to vote.
Okay.
Thanks, Donna. No, thank you
Yep.
for keeping us on track. So yeah, so then we can move on to infrastructure and engineering, and it's a big list. So I'll let you guys take it away.
Do you want to do it, Aaron, or do you want me to do it?
I don't mind
Oh.
to take care of the items.
Okay,
So we had 5 projects and we have 5 resolutions. Would it be easiest to hold off on voting on the resolutions until the end, or should we vote on them as they come up?
I think we had, I guess Matthew will answer that because I know the clerk's office like made a decision about that, right, Matthew?
I say let's, unless there seems to be controversy, potentially on any one of them, why not let's just take them all as a slate.
Okay, so I will read them as they come up, just because then conversation can happen about them at that time, and then maybe we can vote on them as they arise. Okay, or I'm at the end. So our first project was a Safe Routes to Schools project on the near north side, near North High School, that was presented by Forrest Hardy. The goal of that project is to connect 3 schools and 3 parks with a safe route for the most vulnerable road users and address safety on a documented crash concentration corridor. And this is an all ages and abilities bikeway network. They have introduced several treatments along, I can't remember what street it was, 16th Avenue North, I believe, to slow traffic, including mini roundabouts, raised crossings, and speed humps. So this was a project that we generally supported, and I will read the proposed resolution. The Pedestrian Advisory Committee supports the Near North Safe Routes to School project as proposed by Minneapolis Public Works. We appreciate the variety of traffic calming treatments that will improve safety for all users of 16th Avenue North. Is there a second now?
Second.
Right. Any questions or discussion about that project?
I see Julie Danzel's hand up.
Hi, everybody. I just wanted to add, I think folks are excited about this bikeway on 16th Avenue North. It's been something that we in Safe Routes have talked about for a long time. I can just add that there are some entrance improvements that will be happening at North High School, and I'm just happy to say that has been caught kind of early in this design. And so the folks working on this project for us has been looped in with folks at North High School. And if there's anything to take into consideration, knowing that these improvements are coming to the high school, I think there's still time to keep that kind of on the radar. And the only other piece I'll add, I know that there are several traffic circles as you've mentioned, and I'll just add, I think there's some interest in the community, and definitely from MPS Safe Routes, if there's room as those get developed to infuse some kind of school spirit with them. So whether like one's a North High, one's a Franklin Middle School, kind of colors, flowers, I just wanted to add that there's some interest in that as well, but excited about that. That's all.
those are great.
Really innovative project.
Yeah.
Julie, that's That's such a cool idea. Did I hear you say that Forrest has been involved in the specifically the traffic circle uniqueness?
Yep,
Okay,
at our
cool.
Safe Routes to School work group, yep, is where
Great.
some of that
That's so cool.
conversation happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, wouldn't that be cool?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Great idea. Really cool.
Ah. Pretty funny.
Any other questions or comments? Okay. Our second project what is the 2022 Hennepin County HSIP safety project, which is a highway safety improvement program that was presented by Matthew. There are 5 different intersections along Cedar Avenue and 42nd Street that are going to be improved. They'll be doing primarily ADA pedestrian improvements and bump outs to narrow the intersection, and adding a dedicated left turn lane at Cedar Avenue and 42nd Street, as there's currently a lot of pressure on left turning vehicles to move across the crosswalk, which endangers pedestrians, and adding a protected bicycle crossing at 42nd Street. There's also going to be a median refuge added to 21st Avenue South at 42nd Street and 26th Avenue South at 42nd Street. That will allow bicycle and pedestrian crossings, but prohibit left turning vehicle and through traffic with vehicles. So the comments that we had primarily supported the project with adding the goal of narrowing the crossing of Cedar Avenue at Lake Street, which is currently 5 lanes. So I'm going to read the resolution. The Pedestrian Advisory Committee supports the 2022 Hennepin County HSIP safety project. These intersection improvements contribute to both real and perceived safety for pedestrians. We particularly support reducing crossing distances for all intersections, and for that reason ask that a bump out be added at Cedar Avenue and extended at Lake Street to reduce lane widths to 10 feet.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions or comments on that project? All right. The third project was Franklin Avenue resurfacing and bikeway, which is a 30% project that was presented by Amy Morgan of Minneapolis Public Works. Franklin Avenue is being resurfaced between Penn Avenue and Colfax Avenue, west of Hennepin. It provides an opportunity for the city to reevaluate striping between Hennepin and Penn and to add safety improvements. So for the majority of the street, there's room for 10-foot travel lanes plus a standard bike lane, except for in 2 locations where they're going to do advisory bike lanes for these short segments where the street is too narrow, which will cause mixing and merging and yielding to happen between bicycles and cars. But a very high priority of the project was to maintain on-street parking for the businesses and high-density residential nearby. And then they are able to still provide dedicated space for cyclists in the roadways. So there was some conversation about whether, whether the advisory bike lanes would be unpredictable, but they thought it was the best treatment available for it. There was also conversation about some spaces where there's a westbound stop sign, but not an eastbound stop sign along Franklin Avenue. And so the resolution will reflect that conversation. And yeah, I'll read the resolution and then we can have any discussion if necessary. The Pedestrian Advisory Committee supports the proposal for Franklin Avenue resurfacing. We request signage be added to alert pedestrians to a sidewalk gap so pedestrians may cross earlier. We also request consideration of a stop sign for eastbound traffic at the intersection with South Logan Avenue.
Second. Oh, sorry, Neil.
That's quite all right. Where's the sidewalk gap on this? Kenwood Park as usual?
Julia?
No, it's before that. It's, I think, Irving West on the south side of the street where it's kind of it's probably falls under the too steep to easily provide given the slope. But it just kind of truncates, and people are often walking from Sebastian Joe's to the lake who may not be familiar with the area.
Oh, Irving. Oh, that's right up from the lake.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was a Dayton house. That the last one kind of overlooking the lake, but also on Franklin, and I think that property is part of it. It's mostly kind of wooded. If that helps you.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. There was a mansion there years ago. Or maybe there still is one.
There still is, but it's a more modern mansion. I don't know if it's what it was previously.
I think he had Pillsbury families. Yeah, I know, it is a crappy part of walkway.
Unless there's any other comments, the fourth project was Bryant Avenue reconstruction, which is at 15%, presented by Liz Heyman and Trey Joyner. So this is a very different and cool design. They're proposing a one-way, one-lane street for cars on Bryant to reduce conflict between pedestrians and bicyclists on a shared use path and maintain on-street parking at business nodes along Bryant Avenue. They are removing transit from Bryant and moving it to Lyndale Avenue. So this design will reduce the amount of traffic on Bryant and likely modestly increase traffic on adjacent local streets with minimal spillover onto Lyndale Avenue. So there was some discussion about what the impacts of moving traffic from Bryant to other corridors could be, including on air quality. They haven't done that kind of analysis yet, or it probably will not do that kind of analysis. And they're going to be able to do some traffic calming in a one-way design, including like chicanes and other ways to reduce the speed that cars are traveling at. So our resolution was the PAC supports the proposed one-way design for the Bryant Avenue South reconstruction and move transit to Lyndale Avenue. This creative design will reduce speeds and improve safety for all modes of transportation.
Second.
Any discussion?
I would just add that it's one way from, is it Lake Street to 50th or 46th, and from 50th to 46th, it goes the other way. Because
that's right.
We had some problems. So it's, but it's still really, really a good design. But I thought that'd be good for people to realize. So
that's right.
Yeah.
They call it a converging one way.
Converging one ways, yeah.
Yeah, well, funny.
Yeah, Julie.
This is really just a comment for the folks from the city that worked on this project. I just appreciate on the map in the presentation that they include the schools. That's not typically what you see, like even the one, just before with Franklin didn't have Kenwood School on it. So I just a comment that it is helpful and appreciative to see the schools on the map.
Mm-hmm.
That's good to know, Julie. I'm glad that you brought that up. I can share that with the team.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, one more project, one more resolution. So our last project was the Upper Harbor Terminal project, which is again a 15% project that was presented by Alexander Cato of Minneapolis Public Works. So there is a specific area that was being addressed on this project where there's a truck facility at 33rd Avenue South. And the designers were trying to find out whether we would support a modified design that doesn't include a sidewalk on one side of the street. The reason was that there is currently heavy truck traffic crossing that boundary between the street and where a sidewalk would be located along 33rd Avenue South. And so they felt that it would be dangerous to encourage people to walk on that side of the street versus having a path on the other side, and that there were grade issues that would perhaps require like a retention wall be built or something like that to have a sidewalk. So yeah, that kind of covers the conversation. So we passed a resolution supporting a sidewalk, or we didn't pass it, we wrote one supporting a sidewalk on both sides. So the Pedestrian Advisory Committee supports design option A for 33rd Avenue North, which is the only complete streets option presented for this street. The city's complete streets policy is unambiguous about the need to prioritize vulnerable street users in any design. Although truck movements are a legitimate safety concern, this needs to be solved with engineering practices rather than excluding pedestrians from choosing the route that best meets their needs.
Second.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Just to add to that one, I went up there 3 times following that meeting, and only one of them was in the evening, one was on a Sunday, and one was during the time that the planners told us would be the highest truck traffic time. There was absolutely, like, I saw one car over the course of about 2 hours in total on the low volume times, like not even, you know, it was beyond low traffic at those points. And even during the point where we were told that there would be a high volume of truck traffic, it didn't seem to meet the numbers that we were being told by the city of 100 to 150 trucks. A fair number. I took pictures of almost every vehicle for about 2.5 to 3 hours. I haven't done a count of them, but they're not, like, they don't add up to the numbers that we were given, which they may not be representative, who knows. But a fair amount of the vehicle traffic was coming out of the north side parking lot at the close of business day. So, and the slope is like, I have never built a retaining wall, and I would feel very comfortable bidding on building the retaining wall there. It's a very, very minimal slope on the south side of that street. So just as sort of a follow-up for that, I know both Christopher and Peter also went out there to take a look. So what we were hearing for the reasoning from the city behind why they were not following their own policies to provide sidewalks doesn't seem to line up with direct observation of the site.
I'm glad you went up there, Julia.
I was very cranky about what we saw. It makes no sense to me. So I wanted to get a better feel. And I'm glad I wasn't the only one, because I can just be cranky. So if either Christopher or Peter want to weigh in on what they observed and whether what I'm reporting is what they noticed, that would be lovely too.
Yeah, Peter.
Yeah, for sure, Julia. Saw the same thing. The driveways the 2 driveways that we were shown by the presenters being in play got next to no traffic at all while we were, over the 2 hours plus we were there. The trucks, like Julia said, came across the tracks. No conflict, no other conflicts, no other cars or trucks going even 2 ways at once. It was just that intermittent. Again, right, limited sample size, etc. But just in general, we haven't this project presented to us as just this segment, separate from the whole idea of how people get in, get out, or the whole flow, the whole systems approach to how we should be looking at this massively funded, massive dollar project. And I don't know, that's all. I guess if anybody tells you that pedestrians, that we're fighting for scraps, don't show them this project as a counter argument. This one didn't sit well at all, for how, where we were given this choice, this alternative close sales school 101, where there's no other option, but here we're going to give you this choice between lousy and unacceptable. Especially being on site, there's room there to get creative. So that's all.
And they also,
but it's good.
like,
I like the resolution.
It's also a site where they have a lot of signs that already indicate to drivers that this needs to be an area where you're driving with care. So Peter brought up during the INE meeting that this is commercial drivers who have as much training and incentive to be cautious around people biking and walking and using wheelchairs as anywhere. And there's additional signage like not, you know, that lets them know about the railroad tracks, about forklifts driving, the speed limits on the sites are at like 5 to 10 miles an hour. It's just absolutely one of the places where you would expect truck drivers to already be the most cautious possible. So it's just very, very, very odd, the reasoning we were given by city staff. And I don't know if they didn't go out and verify what was going on site or what is happening, that this was even the way it was framed and what was presented don't line up with what we should be able to expect, in my view.
And if I just may interject, I just want to underscore what Peter and Julie have said. When I went out there, yes, there is the freight center with the truck. There are the train tracks. It is a venue or location that's really going to have to take some engineering solutions to put it, I think, into an attractive and a safe place to walk. I did not see particularly heavy truck volumes, in my opinion, when I was out there, and I saw no trains. Of course, as Peter said, that's a small sample size. But the thing that bothered me about this was that I think two things. One, we were told that the possible cost of a retaining wall, the city didn't really relish that. I looked later, and the financial costs of this project, I read, are, quote, north of 300 million and up to 385 million. So if a retaining wall for pedestrian convenience and safety is not included in the 385 million scope of this plan, I would just want to go back to my earlier point at another meeting that we get these things when they're 99%. If a retaining wall is considered out of scope of a 385, a third of $1 billion project, particularly when this was sold to the community as a multimodal attraction that would not be auto-centric. And I think they have developed this in the exact backwards manner. Okay, we'll first focus on getting people multimodally into the facility and then do the sexy and fun stuff like, you know, planting along the river and an amphitheater and that kind of thing. But do the hard stuff first. And it's an afterthought. I was kind of flabbergasted, but now I'll be quiet.
Yeah, Matthew.
I have one very, very slight thought that I just want to raise, is that I appreciate the observations about the number of trucks. And even if there are a lot more trucks, oh gosh, I'm sorry. Even if there are a lot more trucks than were observed, it's still not a reason to remove the sidewalk, right? So it's like,
Absolutely.
yeah, I just want to make that clear, is that because I could see somebody's honking on my door. I could see a response being like, no, really, there are trucks. They're just different, different times of the day. But I still think I heard the PAC say, even if there are trucks, that's not a valid excuse to remove the sidewalk.
Yep.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
We also said that we thought it was the design team's responsibility to make sure that that sidewalk was safe for able-bodied and people with disabilities and unsighted people. That's their job, is to make it safe for all of us. So I think that's true.
I have a quick question. I wasn't able to make the INE meeting, but there's 3 railroad crossings along the corridor. Are there going to be gates, railroad gates across all 3 crossings? And would the gates also come down and stop pedestrians and bicyclists crossing the tracks at the time there's a train coming?
They stated there would be, but there would not be, and I forget the proper name of it, those Z chutes, like you see sometime to make people look both ways. What was said, they were just going to do, pedestrian, it looked like crossing arm kind of things. So
okay.
Yes.
Good.
They are not super heavily used tracks.
Yeah.
in my observation. Like they're not super shiny. They have all the markings of being fairly infrequently used as is as well.
And they were going to try to do some curving with the approach sidewalks and bike paths so that cyclists particularly could do perpendicular crossing of the tracks.
That's right. Unless there is other discussion, we're ready to vote on the resolutions, which I think we should vote on as a package.
I have one note. I think there was like a problem with a verb tense or something in the Bryant Avenue.
Oh, yeah, move transit.
Yeah, something's odd about it. I don't know. Moving transit?
Yeah.
It supports the proposed one-way design and moving transit. Yes, yes, it should be moving.
Transit. Yeah, okay. That's all I had.
Oh, right. Moving.
Okay, you guys are ready to vote
Oh,
Yep.
on the package of resolutions?
yeah.
Okay, Aaron,
Yes.
Abigail,
Yes.
Barbara,
Yes.
Christopher Hoffer,
Yes.
Christopher Ross, you here?
Yes.
Donna,
Yes.
Julia,
Yes.
Steve Steinruck,
Yes.
Neil,
Aye.
Paul,
Yes.
Peter.
Yes.
Awesome. That's 11 members that voted yes on the package of resolutions.
Thanks, Millicent. Aaron or Barb, was there anything else for the infrastructure and engineering report?
Nope, just that it went out without a hitch. It went really well. I thought I was very impressed because there were a lot of people there, so that was good.
Yeah, it seemed busy.
Yeah.
Awesome. Great. So in record time, we're moving on to programs and policies.
Yoo-hoo.
Your report.
Well, all right. We've got a few items and a resolution that was built into the agenda, and we'll take up the signalization one after everything else. Okay, well, we'll start with that's what I understand how we'll do it. So I will do the resolution last. I'll take it from the bottom where we talk with that complete streets policy update. Abigail handled that on behalf of James Walsh's participation in that work group on complete streets. And there was not much to there was it progresses, right, Abigail? They're looking at changes, and we're keeping a vigilant eye for any potential watering down of a complete streets policy that we were involved in going years back and are largely happy with. That's that. You can refer to the minutes on that. Same thing with the rest of these. And others, we had a continuing discussion on evolving rules. I'm going to turn my camera off. I've got a new feature here that's really dizzying. The subcommittee quorum rules. So, Chris Kartheiser led us through that. And that is an evolving topic about how we need to arrange our subcommittees in terms of attendance, membership, and fixing a membership for purposes of quorum. And I'll refer to people in minutes on that, where the minimum members could be 4 or could be 5, and making a quorum of 3. Is there any evolving of thought or process or anything since our PNP meeting, Chris?
Hey, this is Matthew. So we actually kind of bumped out that one under discussion for this agenda. So I'll kind of give a little more detail on that in a
Okay.
few minutes.
Terrific. Thank you, Matthew. And the PAC effectiveness topic with my name on it, it came out, stemmed from the CIP cycle, and it fomented, started a conversation about measuring PAC effectiveness. We talked a lot, a wide-ranging discussion that Neil effectively captures in the minutes. The upshot of that is a beginning approach to, or a sample task to measure effectiveness is to take a set of I&E resolutions and then compare them with the results. That's going to involve some staff work to show what to recover or to produce what the city council eventually approved and compare that to 3 resolutions. I'm charged with those 3 finding those 3 resolutions. That's underway. Anybody wants to contribute to that? Any projects on that stick in his or her or their craw that they'd like attention paid to? I am all ears and would love to hear from anyone. Otherwise, I'll present a few choices, more than 3, back to the group to pick from. We discussed and then dispensed with a discussion of moving the date of I&E. We did. I don't. That's all covered in the minutes. So nothing. That is that's moot or whatever. Julia handled a discussion of new member orientation. The upshot of that, we're going to return to that in August or September after the new members are seated. And what I heard, separate from the minutes here, is that there's really no discussion or hint or even whisper of returning to in-person meetings for purposes of our group before next year. If then, is that's what I guess I took that from Matthew's intimations, or it was like there just hasn't been, just nothing to talk about there.
Nothing that we're ready to talk about. No.
Right. Okay. All right. So that was the other component of the new member discussion. Finally, under the 20-year streets funding plan, Abigail led a discussion and brought a draft resolution that I will read momentarily, and leading the discussion and acknowledging that we are standing on the shoulders and the handlebars of the BAC in bringing this bringing our version of their strong resolution addressing 20-year funding plan and its impact and its influence and its importance to honor the Transportation Action Plan and its goals. And thank you for bringing that up. And I'm going to read the proposed resolution and called the 20-year streets funding plan, and where the Minneapolis Pedestrian Advisory Committee asks Minneapolis Public Works to commit to amending the 20-year streets funding plan to align with the Transportation Action Plan, aka TAP. The TAP calls for transformative changes within the same time frame as the 20-year streets funding plan and should directly influence all plans for uses of transportation funding. Next paragraph is amending the plan must be a rapid and strategic priority for Public Works. The Minneapolis Pedestrian Advisory Committee requests that Public Works come to our meeting in July 2021 to present on the 20-year streets funding plan as it exists in its current form. Last paragraph, the Minneapolis Pedestrian Advisory Committee further requests that we and other key stakeholders be directly and significantly involved in the process to amend the 20-year streets funding plan. And resolution.
Second.
Is there a second? Thank you, Neil.
All right.
Any discussion, edits, feelings? I have one. I would take, if it's up to me, I would take out the word key in the last paragraph.
Key.
Stakeholders are stakeholders.
Right. No judgment as to how effective they are. Yeah. Key. There's no keys. Donna has a key.
Any hands up? I don't think I see any. Then shall we proceed to a roll call vote?
Okay,
Yes, let's vote.
let's vote. Aaron?
Yes.
Abigail?
Yes.
Barbara? Barb, you still there?
Yeah.
I see your little round circle.
Mhm.
I'm here. I just had a phone call I had to answer, but I approve. I say aye for this as well.
Okay. Christopher Hoffer?
Yes.
Christopher Ross? You there, Christopher Ross?
Hmm.
His little circle is there. All right. Donna?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Matthew Steinrich?
Yes.
Neil?
All right.
Paul, you vote for the 20th Street funding plan? Is he still here?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Peter?
Aye.
All right, well, we've got 10 yes.
10. But there were 11.
Chris did vote. Chris did vote aye. Chris
Chris
Ross
Ross.
voted aye. Melissa,
He's gotta
if you didn't
say
hear it, we.
Yeah, I did say aye. My
Okay,
microphone's a little goofy.
okay, we've got 11.
Terrific. Thanks, everyone. And thanks for that, bringing that resolution discussion. Abigail.
Mhm.
Solid. That completes Programs and Policies Subcommittee report for our meeting in May 2021.
Thanks. And then you want to cover the, signalization discussion right now?
Yep. Okay, if we're ready to go on that. Julia, do you have materials you can work from? You want to?
I have the draft that I shared with you initially. I don't have access to Google Docs. So I'll give the overview and then maybe Peter can take
Okay.
over from there. But basically, it came to our attention that so in last year in March or April, the city moved most actuated buttons, which are the ones where you have to push a button in order to get a green light or a walk sign as a pedestrian, from being actuated to being automatic recall, which is where the light just gives the pedestrian cycle no matter what. And that's something that we passed a resolution in support of in August of last year, affirming that that's what we want, that we want to see it in more places, that we would like to not see the exceptions that exist for it. And within this past week, it appears that the city has been rolling that back, reprioritizing cars over people walking, using wheelchairs, and biking around the city without notice and without even removing the signs that assure pedestrians that we do not need to push buttons in order to cross the street. So in light of this, Peter and I were double checking to see, if this was happening, how widespread it was. It's just something that came up today, so sort of brief information that we have on it. And aside from whatever you all may have observed, but we've confirmed that it is not every light that was formerly actuated. Not every light that was formerly actuated has been returned to needing to be actuated, but there definitely are lights that were removed from actuation to automatic recall that are now actuated again. And this goes against the last sentence of our August resolution, which explicitly asks the city to speak with us around this, to consult with us so that we can help guide that. And it certainly seems to go against basic safety practices, which would be to maybe remove the signs that say you don't need to push a button and let people know. So this is something that we've got a resolution drafted. I don't know, Peter, if you might have an updated one. The language that I initially drafted for this might be a little, oh, I actually did not copy that over apparently. The language might be a bit stronger. When I drafted it, my understanding was that it might have been a complete reversal of the changes that we saw last March, April. But it isn't a complete reversal, so we might want to shift language around that if that hasn't already been reflected in the draft.
Yes, and Matthew has an update on that because he actually talked to someone in.
Yeah. So I think I have an important clarification that I don't think is gonna, it's somewhere between like what we initially thought it might be and nothing. You know what I mean? So to clarify what I mean, there hasn't been a decision to like systematically make a change back to the proportion of push button actuation versus automatic recall. What has happened, which I didn't know until this sort of came up today, is that there have been a small handful, like a few, maybe like 10, I don't know what the number is, but of specific changes based on some observations or complaints across the city. And I think that number is relatively small. Now, what you all think of that as a body, as a committee is totally appropriate in my mind. I just want to clarify that it hasn't, like, it's sort of been like an iterative, apparently, like over a period of time, like there's a complaint or an issue and traffic staff has looked at it, evaluated and made a few changes. So I just wanted to note that I did talk to our traffic team on that, and that's what has happened. And then also, the traffic staff that I did talk to said that like pretty soon we should start talking about what happens now that the pandemic is shifting in a way where things are shifting, mask requirements, things like that. So I think now is a good time, and this came up with the executive committee to at least invite traffic staff to come probably to a P&P meeting, maybe the next one, and just talk through what the thinking might be. And I'm happy to extend that invite if that's the wishes of the committee. Thank you.
Okay, I do want to point out again that it's two things. One is that it seems like there is no level of pedestrian or bicyclist complaint that changes traffic signals. And one of the things that is part of traffic signals, like the pedestrian bicycle intersection, is that people on bikes, when we have a side street with a signal crossing a main line, the main line stays green unless in an actuated situation, unless the side street is triggered, which is either by a driver going over a signal like sensor thing under the pavement or someone pushing the button. And those buttons are often inaccessible in winter, even to, somebody using a wheelchair, somebody using a walker. They get blocked by snow to the point you can't even see if there's one. But it would require somebody who's biking who does not trigger that, if they're biking not on the sidewalk, they have to somehow, they don't trigger it and there's nothing letting them know. So this seems to me to be a kind of, there's a high urgency to pointing this out, and when the city is not removing the signage, letting people know they don't need to push this button. I'm looking at somebody who's looking to cross one of these where they've changed it, the sign is still up, the person is not pushing the button, and they will not get a light. And that's literally happening right now around the city, including in front of me. So I think it's,
yeah.
And can I finish?
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to call out that this is an urgent request that I don't think can be delayed till P&P because of how it's been implemented, showing zero regard for the implications.
Matthew, can you tell us if it's been roughly 10, say you're saying 10 to 20 signals out of 750, over the course of how many months have they been transferring over these random signals based on complaints? Your music.
Right. I said that's a good question. I don't have the answer.
Because if they changed all 10 in the last week, yeah, I'd be like, that's kind of rapid pace. But if they changed it over the last 3 months, I'd be like, well, between now and the next P&P, like I would really like to formally invite someone to come so that Julia can, like the what you said, Julie, I think is like pertinent, and I really would like someone in signals to like hear that, and then I'd like to pass a resolution based on that conversation with that signalization person, when we've all had the chance to like fully get the city's take on it, and then talk to someone who's kind of like in charge of that stuff. So my thoughts on it is that we do have that time, and then we can actually have that face to face, I guess, online conversation with someone who can give us the full background, and then take that information back, and then we'll have a resolution to back the conversation we had. So that's my take on it. I know people probably have differing opinions, so I guess if other people want to talk about how they feel about it or any questions too.
I'd love to know what streets, what intersections, just because if it's Hennepin and Franklin, that's one thing. If it's more like, Irving and 31st, which of course doesn't exist, not a big concern of mine. But I mean, obviously in theory it's a big deal, but clearly if we're gonna rake our friends in traffic over the coals for signs that 6 people use in a month, and that somebody complained about it. We don't know, of course, whether the complaint was by auto, bike, or pedestrian, or neighbor, for that matter, looking out the window. I'd be curious to see who actually complained about them.
Well, we could say by that token, they are being raked over the coals already and responding to drivers receiving an inconvenience and they're responding to that. So give me my shot with the rake, I guess.
Yeah. As always, they respond to drivers pretty quick.
Yeah, and maybe that person could come with that list of what's changed. Yeah. I see a hand up. Sorry.
I guess I agree with Abigail that I'd like to hear from the city's traffic folks at the next planning and programming meeting. The only reason they turned off or put the signals on recall was because of COVID. It wasn't because of our resolution that we passed back in August of 2020. So, it was somewhat fortunate for the committee that the COVID came along and they turned off, put all the signals on recall. But I think it'd be good to hear from the engineers at P&P, and then, also hear from them what their kind of long-term plan is to turn more signals over to recall rather than the push buttons.
Right.
I have concerns about.
One second, Julie. I want to respond to Paul because this is actually a case where I remember the phone call where Julia and Abigail and others asked for it, and so I called the traffic team, and so that was a very direct PAC asked for it, and then traffic considered it and then made it happen. So you're right, it was because of COVID, but it was the PAC that initially suggested, hey, we should do this, and then they looked at it and did it. So I just wanted to make that note. And then also there's a lot we don't know, and so I totally appreciate let's see if we can get staff in to talk to the committee, because don't know how many, don't know when, don't know why, all that. So
here's my concern is that the city is not doing due diligence. So there are signs up that say you do not need to push this button, but you literally don't get a light if you don't push the button at some of these intersections. So the fact that the city is not communicating this in any way, and in fact is leading up what is now misinformation, to me makes this urgent in terms of doing, raising it to Public Works before the next PMP. I think that we could have passed 1,000 resolutions on signalization alone, given how it impacts walkability and given how timing is 100% car centric, except for at train intersections. And the fact that there's no auditory signals at the train intersections for the signals there, it blows my mind. I know that's something that Donna and Scott both have brought up for years. So I don't see a need to wait for more information to pass a resolution when we were clear in our August resolution. Please come talk to us about exceptions to this, because it never was all of the signals. And when the city has not done its very basic responsibility of removing signs that say you don't need to push this, there just has to be some sort of oversight, and we're what amounts to oversight for these matters. And this is, it's a now problem, not a 2, 3, 4 weeks out problem.
And it can't be just a written sign either, because people like me wouldn't be able to read it.
Well, in that case, the buttons should be working as your auditory signal regardless, so they're serving that other function, Donna, I think.
Wait a minute, something's wrong here.
Yeah, that's me.
Can you, yeah, okay, now, what did you say, Julia? Wait a minute, stop. Okay,
So my understanding is that the signs were not, they didn't need to put them in Braille because the button still fulfills the auditory information aspect even during the pandemic.
oh, okay.
So the button was, you could still push it, like, so there's plenty of places where there is a button that is not actuated and never has been actuated, but it's there for people with impaired vision to be able to cross safely and to get the information you need. So the fact that the sign has not been translated into Braille seems a little bit separate in this case.
Okay.
As I understand it.
Can I just maybe clarify, like, I think we need to have traffic staff come in, or we need to at least ask to come in and talk to us next month, either way. And then Julia, it sounds like are you also saying making some kind of statement today would be helpful? Or are you saying like, that's it?
I mean, they need to go out to every one of these signals that they have taken from automatic recall and forced into actuation and remove the signs or check that the signs are not there at the very least. That would be the minimal effort. I think that also clarifying to people who have come to expect that they will not need to push a button, that some of these now are, it would also via any of the city's social media or in other ways would be a basic responsibility, but at the very least, removing misinformation that they themselves put up.
Well, how about we just ask Matthew to tell them that which ones did you change? Pull the info and have done with it, because all we need to change then is that the information's faulty, and they know perfectly well which ones they changed. And then that problem will be temporarily fixed.
Well, I got excited at the start of what you said, Neil, because like what I could do is try to get some more. I could try to get some more information like tomorrow, and just email it to the pack and just be like, hey, based on the conversation, here's some more of the things that that I've heard. I heard questions today that I could at least help answer.
Yeah.
And my question to you, Matthew, is like, the PAC had influence in the signalization department via phone call from you. So I'm wondering if when you call them tomorrow and say, hey, can you come and speak at the PNP subcommittee? Also, by the way, those few signals that you did change, someone needs to go around and remove those signs. And I think that would actually be enough to get them to go and remove those signs, or give us a list and like, I'll walk around and remove some.
Well, sure. We can, any of us.
I mean, not that we should admonish the city for like leaving false information, because Julia's right. That's like really problematic. But I don't know if like that's something that a resolution is needed, or Matthew, you're already in touch with someone who gave you some information today. So I don't know if it would be a big ask to be like, hey, by the way, you need to remove those signs and also then come in at the June PNP. But I don't know if that's a route we should take, or what you guys think about that. I'm just offering a different idea. I don't know.
Right.
I think that just is the expedient way of doing it. It gets the acute time-sensitive matter that Julie has addressed taken care of, quite frankly, in the fastest amount of time. Matthew just picks up the phone tomorrow and we're off and running. I agree.
I am typing down all of the questions to make sure that I hit them all. So that's what I'm
okay with that, but I'm a little concerned. I just want to make sure that that isn't taken as any tacit approval as well. Like that they're not, I mean, they've been so reticent to discuss with us how this works, or to even consider, at one of the meetings, they talked about how they could instantly change the system, and they do that downtown for when people are getting out of sports events in order to get them out of the city and past all of our restaurants and bars and everything as fast as possible. But they don't do this for us in winter even. I just feel like there's not a ton of regard for pedestrian needs, and I want to not let this one go. So if the same message is conveyed with Matthew's call and with them coming to PNP, I'm all for that. But if there's any value to us passing a formal resolution about this, and that they're not following our requests just to talk to us even, I would appreciate that as well.
If I could just jump in, I think the best motion is the most well-informed motion. And I think it should be drafted after we hear from the representative from Public Works. But I think in the interim, we would leave it to Matthew conveying the general disapproval of the switch over without any outreach or notification to us. But I'm confident Matthew can handle that. I just think we should take that action and then move on.
My number one note is PAC not happy about this.
Nice.
So
Yeah.
I can convey that.
And if Matthew, if the response is like where we have 22nd and Riverside is where the signalization has been on automatic, and then also the signs remain, and also we saw it at Franklin and Clinton. Clinton.
Any others that you saw?
Not on our trip today.
We didn't have a
Julia?
ton of time to check them.
Okay.
Yeah, those are the only two that we saw, but we checked about, I'd say 6-ish maybe. We didn't have a lot of time, but.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like I'll be able to get the list tomorrow, so we don't need manual checking. I appreciate the work that you did, but we can get it, you know.
They've been very reticent to share that information in the past. So I guess I didn't realize that we would be able to get information from them.
Well, I can. I'm sure. I hope I can. We'll see. And you should be able to too. I didn't mean to.
I scare the hell out of those people. I'll call them myself if need be.
Awesome, Neil.
All right.
Yuck.
I think we got this.
All right. Okay. Thank you, Matthew. Thanks everyone's input, discussion, and if that's still P&P, then that concludes P&P plus.
All right.
Yeah. Thanks, Peter. Thanks, Julia. Yeah, and thanks for bringing that forward, because you're right. It's disconcerting that they're just kind of doing it ad hoc when usually when we complain on 311, nothing happens. So it's like, well, what the heck? So I look forward to learning more at the June P&P. That's going to be great. And so to that, we can move to the subcommittee quorum rules, the most exciting thing on the agenda.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
All right. So I think we've all heard about this, but I'll give a basic overview. The clerk's office is asking us as a committee to identify a subset of the full committee membership for each subcommittee. And so that subset, the number could be 5 or 7 or whatever we want. That is not the full 15. So we need to do that for each subcommittee, and then that will have an actual quorum. Whereas in the past, we haven't had quorum issues with subcommittees because it's more of a casual meeting. So I'm just going to stop the context there. Let me know if you have questions. But what I think we need to do, just for expediency, is it's my goal, and then let me know what you think about this, to try to get this settled by the July full committee meeting. And we were working with the BAC, and I think an approach that I want to propose is that staff, meaning me, Millicent, and Chris, a combination, will send out an email outlining a little bit of the context, and we'll do some of the research on who just so much regularly attends each subcommittee to hopefully get a list of people that might be good candidates for like a 5-person membership, and then talk about it at the P&P coming up in June, and then try to formalize it in July. So does that make sense? And if there are people that weren't on the previous times we've talked about it, the implications of that can be a little frustrating, because right now subcommittees are just very casual. We don't pass formal resolutions, things like that. We just show up and go. But what this will mean is if we have a 5-person quorum and it's Abigail, Paul, Neil, Peter, and Christopher, that's what I see on the screen, right? So if it's you 5, 3 of you have to attend and be present in order to be able to have the meeting. And so if 3 of those 5 aren't able to show up, only 2, but the other PAC members show up, we still wouldn't be able to have the meeting. And so that's where it's kind of confusing, as opposed to just like a subset, or as opposed to just having the way it is now. So that's the situation. Thoughts? Does that make sense? We'll send a clear, hopefully very clear, like, concise email, context. Here's the proposal. Here's kind of like some numbers. But let's try to land on a recommended list of subcommittee members for each subcommittee at the P&P and formalize it at the full. Peter.
Yeah, thanks. I'm gonna do the I remember one time thing. I remember one time, at least one time, we've had full PAC meetings, lacking quorum. We proceeded with discussion and topics and all that stuff. Just simply did not act, but we proceeded through parts of the agenda or presentations or whatever. So if that's something that would not happen in the future anymore, I don't know how that would. I'm saying that seems to me the same as having a non-quorum subcommittee meeting where we're not going to necessarily vote or whatever.
So Peter, that's how we rolled back in the day, and I miss those times, But no, we can't do that anymore.
All right. So you
Unfortunately.
you shut it down so everybody goes home or whatever. Okay.
Yeah, which could be a real bummer. So.
Of course, nowadays we're home anyway, so maybe it's not a big deal.
I have a question.
Yes.
Is there a time limit? Like if we meet, the subcommittee starts at 4:30, and there isn't a quorum there, can we say we won't start the meeting until 4:40 and see if people show up by the time? Can we do that in a subcommittee?
I'll say let's make that executive decision and say, yeah, we could do that. And if we find out that's problematic down the road, we could, And then there's I think we've interpreted that we're trying to interpret that, if you have a quorum at the start, you have a quorum throughout, especially at the subcommittee, because we're not voting and taking formal action. So that's another way, is like, if we can just get people to, like, if you can just show up, like at the beginning, if you have to go or something, that's fine, because we'll still have enough people on the meeting. We haven't had like attendance problems since we started up remote. We have good membership, so I don't know that this is going to be a problem.
Yeah.
It's just another thing we have to figure out. So
I think the only time it could be a problem is in the summer when people go on vacation, and then I think if we let people know ahead of time, then we can ask somebody else to make sure they'll be there, because I think there's room to, if you're going to be gone, to say, I'm not going to. I usually go to both, and I don't usually let people know because we haven't had a quorum, but I would be glad to do that if I didn't think I could make it. And I think most people would be glad to do that. So.
Right.
Yeah, Barb, this is Chris, and I think that's a really good point of like, we'll definitely want to do some sort of notification system beforehand so that we can avoid as much as possible, like the random meeting getting canceled. And if for some reason nobody can make it, then we might just have to cancel in advance. But the more we can do like the day before, so the better.
Well, this is feeling pretty good. Go ahead, Christopher.
Yeah, I just think of the amount of time and discussion we've put into this, and none of us know who or for what reason is this being compelled.
I mean, this is coming directly from the city clerk. I'll say that.
Okay, so we know who, but we don't know for what reason. Since quorum doesn't matter, because I disagree with their conclusion that we can't meet. That is, you can have a non-motion passing meeting. That's just their preference. That's not any. I know of no requirement of that. We can get together and we can talk about things, and we could have a public works person talk to us about a street project. That they can't prohibit that. This is our community advisory group as much as the cities, and I would hope that they would send somebody so I can better understand this, because this is a lot of rigmarole. that just gets in the way of citizens volunteering and trying to do a good thing. This is not appropriate. So.
I agree. Of course, I said that last time, but this is for their convenience, strictly speaking. That's it. Absolutely it. It doesn't facilitate the business, and it sure as hell doesn't make public participation, which is of course mandated under our rules, possible or easier anyway.
I mean, think about it. We have 10 PAC members show up at a subcommittee meeting, but the right 3 aren't there. So everyone has to go home, including the invited experts and citizens or city representatives. The outcome is absurd. And I don't even know why it's for their convenience. There is no rational reason. And I've talked about this with another guy who I thought, like, why would they be doing this? He said, somebody went to a lecture, you know, a governance lecture or something. That's what it was.
Yeah, that kind of ring to it. Absolutely. Oh, I heard there's something in San Francisco. Who cares?
Yeah,
You know, I'm a genius too, but most of my ideas are stupid, so I never have that problem. But
Julia and then Aaron, I think.
Okay, it seems like we could theoretically, like if we don't make quorum, have somebody who's got another meeting type set up, everyone shift over there. We don't then have to record it. We don't have to make it public. We can invite anyone else who's shown up, shift a different thing. And because we're not meeting quorum, like in the official things where a conversation among a quorum of PAC members is official business, we're technically not hitting that. So then we're all in the clear. Plus we can get more honest responses from city staff.
I love that.
So that's what it's kind of pushing us towards. So then we can have more open conversation too. Maybe we would have found out what's going on with Upper Harbor.
I have a professional responsibility to try to make this happen. I'm also appreciating and understanding Christopher, Neil, and others' frustrations with the process. So I'll just I get it.
That's funny. You know, the hilarious part of this is we have absolutely no idea, because you can't predict it, whether this will matter at all. It could be, you know, we have a good enough attendance that it may never come up that we have to cancel a meeting with somebody coming specifically and so forth. So it's just a matter of, well, why?
Aaron, you want to jump in?
Yeah, I apologize if I missed this, but like, does the subset of people have to be non-inclusive with the entire PAC roster? Or could you say any 3 of like everybody?
It has to be names. That's the, it has to be specific names.
I mean, but couldn't everybody's name just be on the list and say we need to have 3 of these people?
No, that's what we tried.
Yeah, we thought of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and basically it's like, you know, the way we've always done it is they're just like the whole committee roster is what the committee is, and just it's a subcommittee. It's not a, you know, it's like we could have one person and we'll go, you know.
Got it.
So
too clever by half. Sorry.
And what we were saying, you were saying that it was the lowest number is 4 or 5 or something.
So
go ahead, Abigail.
Matthew, I have 2 questions. Yes or no? Will the clerk ever come to talk to us about this change?
I don't know. Sorry, I know that wasn't one of the answers.
2, if we keep complaining about it, will it change the fact that we have to do it? We just have to do it, right?
I think it's something that you could formally make a comment on via resolution if you wanted.
Okay, that helps. So maybe at PNP, when we bring it forward, we can actually talk about doing some sort of resolution about it.
Yeah, and we've talked about that. I think that's probably a better. Yeah, I think that's a good approach. Is to share some of the frustrations, because that's the point, right? You're
absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
So let's keep that in mind so that at the next PNP we can formalize a resolution that we've all been stewing on, obviously, for the last month, just hearing this nonsense. So with that, then why don't we move on to elections next month, which is also
okay. So I think I'm very excited about the Pedestrian Advisory Committee. I forgot that name. The PAC appointments. I'm going to bring them through the recommendations for appointments on June 23rd to TMPW. And if you applied, I'm recommending that your appointment. I don't know if I said that to everyone, but so there's 5 members that reapplied, and then 3 new members that I'm very excited about. And so with that, we're planning. We'll talk about it at PMP as well, but planning in a similar orientation style, get to know you meeting. We can look at that, and then also in talking to the executive committee, we thought it would be helpful to add a little bit more clarity and specificity in roles. And I think a classic example is just adding some more specifics about what the chair either should do or gets to do as a go-to. So TMPW presentation, like a point person if there's communications, or point person if there's an advisory committee that pops up, like a complete streets technical advisory committee where we need a person. Usually I go to the chair, and so there's that extra duties and whatever, and just kind of just make sure that those things are really clear. And then also just structuring the elections around that, and so not having them right away, but have sort of some of that introduction discussion. Here are the roles, all of that, and then sort of have the elections for the new executive committee and all the officers. I think that's mostly it. Also, just everybody on the call, like, start thinking about the roles that you may or may not want. So, again, chair, vice chair, secretary, and then 2 subcommittee chairs, co-chairs for each of the subcommittees. I think that's it, basically.
Yes, and if you are not on the exec committee and you're interested in any of the roles or learning more, if you know a role you're interested in, you can reach out to the person who's currently in that role, or you could reach out to me just for general conversation having. I'm totally open to that. So that's kind of exciting. That's all next month when we have some new members and elections. So.
Do you think it's a good idea to have both things on the same meeting? Because doesn't that get to be an awfully long meeting?
No, we'll still do it within the 4 to 6 time frame. Yeah, and it's been done in the past. What'll happen is like, this will take an hour, so 4 to 5 o'clock probably, and then we'll probably have the subcommittee reports and minimize other items. I think. Oh gosh, we got to talk about this because I know scooter bike share might. We'll have to. So Donna, good point. We'll have to think through that.
Because we did it in February of this year. So
Yeah.
I think, and even online it went fine, but I don't think there was anything on the agenda besides that agenda item and then the 2 reports. So.
And we could find a way to speed up.
We voted in the old slate too. So we didn't have an actual election. It was just kind of, are we all good with this? Because things will be redone in July anyhow.
Yes.
That's true.
Depending on what we have, I think we may want to speed up the introductions, because I think that took like an hour and 15 minutes.
That took an hour.
So we can speed that up a little bit.
Maybe I know it sounds no fun. Maybe we just skip the icebreaker and we say who we are and what role we play on the PAC.
Sure. Okay. And we'll talk about that as an existing executive committee creating that agenda. So cool.
Thanks, Matthew.
That's what I have. Thanks.
Awesome. And so with that, we move on to announcements.
Yeah. Julie, you always have one.
Julie Granville on the spot.
Well, I could say the last day of school is next Friday, June 11th, and the kids will be out for summer.
Yay.
Tuned. Yay, I know, right? I guess just along with that, not directly related, but mailbox pickup will continue through the summer. There will be an adjustment to locations that will start on June 14th, but we're, believe it or not, still finalizing those details, and those should be done tomorrow. But mailbox pickup will continue. And next school year will bring lots of changes for many of our students as the comprehensive district design is implemented. And so there'll be some shifts in our magnet schools and where those are located throughout the city. They'll be kind of more centrally located in the core, and some shifts in attendance areas and such. So next year will be a big year. The last day of school is Friday, the 11th.
See,
June
Julie.
11th.
Yeah.
Best day of the year.
That's
Given
June though, not May.
given the changes in the schools,
Mhm.
have you put whatever the program
Like safe
access-
routes?
Thank you, safe routes. Have you incorporated more changes to get access to the schools and so on based on that?
I mean, we've been involved in some conversations, both around bus stop, kind of some bus stop work through our operations division, and we've also discussed the topic at our monthly Safe Routes to School work group meeting that includes folks from Public Works and then the health department, and then other folks within the district. And so, yeah.
Sort of, in other words.
Julie, what are they going to do for the kids that have gotten behind because they've been trying to distance learn? What are they going to do to try to
Yeah,
fix that?
there's quite an increase in the opportunities for kids to do in-person learning this summer. I can speak personally from a parent of a special ed student. They've adjusted the criteria for what they call extended school year. So more kids are eligible for in-person learning, both through special ed, regular summer school. There's also, they just announced yesterday, a art-focused program that'll be downtown at Fair High School that will be in partnership with like the Cowell Center for Arts, McPhail, and a couple other art institutes kind of downtown. So they really are hoping to increase the number of kids that continue learning and have in-person opportunities this summer.
Will they be free for the kids?
Yeah, it's all free.
Oh, good.
Yep.
Good.
And meals and transportation.
Right.
Great.
Thanks, Julie.
You're welcome.
And I saw this year that the parks filled all the kiddie pools at all the parks. I think they didn't last year.
Oh, they did.
They're already full.
So
funny.
I like to
Well,
put
now they're having a hard time getting chlorine, so I don't know how that'll go.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's been on the news.
Really?
Yep.
Oh, that's crazy.
hopefully they'll stay full then.
Yeah. No more diapers.
Any other announcements?
I just want to say I'm sorry I had my phone on Do Not Disturb, but my doctor, who is one of my favorites, had to call me, and I'm sorry for that noise. I thought I was muted, but I wasn't, and it just makes everybody crazy. So I apologize for that.
Okay. I loved it.
No worries.
Did you? Well, I'll try to get next.
It'll be in the notes, by the way.
I have a quick project update, if that's okay. Yeah. So the park board is starting on the design process for Graco Park, which is the park in Northeast, right off of like Plymouth Avenue. And there will be some bike walk improvements as part of that design. And so Carrie will be sending along some more information once the engagement launch starts. And I think that this summer will be kind of strong engagement around that project. So I'll post the project link in the chat box too.
Where's that park?
It's right. Do you know Halls Island, where that new island was built a couple of years ago, off like near Booms Island? It's right over there. It's kind of like an empty. I don't know if anyone knows. It's sort of this like empty grass area, and there's like a bike walk connection that kind of goes through it. And the plan was always to develop it into more of like a kind of, I don't want to say like a destination park, but there's going to be more amenities there.
Graco Park.
It's great bird spot.
Oh, really?
And turtles, I've heard, with the new island too.
Wow. Turtle sightings.
Thanks. Looking forward to it. Any other announcements?
I move to adjourn.
Second.
Seconded. About the rain. Gonna
Great.
rain over here.
Oh, uh-oh. Better get under shelter.
It never rains at Joy Point Square.
Thanks, everybody, for being here.
Yep, talk
Thank
to you
you.
later.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.